Played 30 minutes.
So he was tired?
No, played 30 minutes and I went with other people. You already know why he didn't play.
Reggie Jason Luis Jr., born November 27, 2002. In today's college basketball landscape, momentum is everything. Few players had more of it heading into the 2025 NCAA tournament than Reggie R.J. Luis Jr. The 6'6" wing wasn't a high-profile recruit coming out of high school and didn't attract much national attention early in his career. But after a strong 2-year stint at UMass, he transferred to St. John's and took his game to another level. As a junior, he averaged 18.1 points, 7.5 rebounds, and 2 assists per game, becoming the Big East Player of the Year and was named a consensus second-team All-American. He played with length, intensity, and a scoring touch that looked NBA ready. Most projections had him climbing into the first round. Some even believed a strong tournament showing could sneak him into the lottery. Then, right when it mattered most, everything fell apart. In what would be his final college game, RJ had a poor shooting night, just 3 for 17 from the field. Still, with just over 4 minutes left in a tight game, St. John's was only down by 2. That's when legendary coach Rick Pitino made a decision that stunned fans and likely shifted RJ's entire trajectory. He benched him. A decision that's a travesty he was allowed to make in a kid's last and most important game of his life. RJ never returned to the floor. St. John's went on to get outscored 11-4 and lost the game. Afterward, Pitino blamed RJ's body language, effort, and ball movement, or lack of it, for the choice. But to many watching, the explanation didn't justify the moment. You don't bench your best player in a moment that crucial, especially when his pro future is on the line. The damage was immediate. RJ's draft stock plummeted. He had the option to return or transfer through the portal, where it was reported he could have commanded over $3 million in NIL offers. Instead, he declared for the NBA draft and went undrafted. He later signed a 2-way deal with the Utah Jazz, placing him in the G League for most of the season. From potential first-rounder to fighting for a roster spot in a matter of weeks. And the worst part, none of it had to happen this way. Pitino's benching crushed his momentum, and RJ's rushed decision cost him millions. Together, they may have cost him his future in the league entirely. What happened? Let's talk about it. Salute to L Selector on IG for this request. It's your boy JC Stunted Growth. I should get it, man. Take a minute to like, subscribe, and comment on who I should do next. Reggie R.J. Luis Jr. is a 6'6" shooting guard from Miami, Florida. He played high school basketball at Miami Northland and wasn't heavily recruited coming out. Considered a late bloomer, he began his college career at UMass, where he showed steady improvement. By his sophomore season, he led the team in scoring at 11.5 points per game, while adding 4.6 rebounds and shooting 45.5% from the field. His size, athleticism, and energy on both ends caught the attention of bigger programs, and in 2023, he transferred to St. John's to play for Rick Pitino. The move transformed his career. In his junior year, RJ averaged 18.1 points and 7.5 rebounds, earning Big East Player of the Year and second-team All-American honors. By March, he was viewed as a possible late first-round pick in the upcoming 2025 NBA draft, with some buzz even projecting him as a potential lottery sleeper, depending on combine workouts. But a few decisions ensured that would never happen. Stunt number 1, benched at the worst possible time. No single moment did more damage to RJ Luis's career trajectory than the final 4 minutes of his last college game. With St. John's down just 2 points, 64-62, RJ sat on the bench, benched by Rick Pitino after a 3 for 17 shooting night. The stat line was rough, but it doesn't tell the full story. Luis had carried the Red Storm all season long and was the team's leading scorer, rebounder, and emotional centerpiece. In the most pivotal game of the year, most coaches would ride with their guy. Pitino didn't. He made a cold, calculated decision that left Luis watching from the sideline as his team collapsed late. The backlash was immediate. Pitino cited poor body language, effort, and ball movement as the reasons for the benching, comments many viewed as overblown and damaging to RJ's character more than his game. Suddenly, Luis went from rising first-round prospect to a question mark. NBA scouts wondered if something deeper was wrong. Was he coachable? Did he have leadership issues? And could he be trusted in big moments? All fair or not, that one decision, rooted in a veteran coach's instinct, created doubts that simply didn't exist before. RJ didn't get a final shot to redeem himself or remind people what made him special. He was frozen out of the moment, and unfortunately, that moment became the headline. It didn't matter that he had just earned Big East Player of the Year or that he averaged over 18 points and 7 rebounds per game. What stuck in the minds of scouts and fans alike was a cold bench and a coach's critique that, fair or not, shaped the narrative. Pitino's decision may have been about winning a single game, but in hindsight, it may have cost RJ Luis the start to his NBA career he had worked years to reach. Stunt number 2, entering the draft too soon. As if the bad decisions couldn't get worse, RJ himself made one that shut the door on him being drafted. After the fallout from his benching, RJ Luis Jr. had a choice to make. Despite the controversy, his college stock was still strong, and multiple reports suggested he could have transferred and earned over $3 million in NIL deals. Big-name programs were ready to offer him a fresh start. Another dominant year could have erased the stigma of his final game and re-established his draft value. Instead, RJ declared for the 2005 NBA draft. It was a bold decision, but arguably a premature one. The hype surrounding his breakout junior season hadn't fully recovered from the Pitino situation. He needed time to reframe the narrative and show scouts that the benching was a one-time misstep, not a reflection of who he was as a player or leader. But you never want to go out on that note regardless. Instead, by entering the draft, RJ locked in the perception that followed him, but potentially hard to coach, soft and unreliable in big moments. The result, he went undrafted. Just months earlier, he was tracking as a first-rounder. Declaring early cost him millions in NIL opportunities and took away the one tool players often need most: control over their narrative. By opting out of another year in college, he lost the chance to prove his coach wrong, develop further, and exit college basketball on his own terms. RJ believed he was ready, but once perception starts to shift, the league rarely gives the benefit of the doubt, especially not to wings with average athleticism, inconsistent shooting, and character concerns, fair or not. He was already behind the 8 ball the moment Pitino pulled him. Declaring early didn't help, it just cemented the doubt before he had a chance to fix it. Stunt number 3, the harsh reality of going undrafted. Once the draft ended and RJ Lewis's name wasn't called, he officially entered the toughest lane in professional basketball, the undrafted grind. While signing a 2-way contract with the Utah Jazz gives him a foot in the door, it's far from security. 2-way deals often mean inconsistent minutes, heavy time in the G League, and limited opportunities to prove yourself on the NBA stage. For most, it's a holding pattern, a tryout without guarantees. RJ's journey now becomes about patience, timing, and adaptability, but the margin for error shrinks dramatically. Any flaw in his game, whether it's shooting consistency, decision-making, or defensive lapses, gets magnified because teams have little invested in him. A bad stretch in the G League could end his NBA chances entirely, while a good stretch might still not be enough to earn a full contract. That's the unforgiving truth of being undrafted. Even worse, he's no longer a trending story. Once the season starts, attention shifts to rookies who were drafted, especially those given guaranteed money. RJ won't be given the same room to grow, and while he's proven he can score at a high level in college, the NBA game is faster, more physical, and far less forgiving to players who aren't elite at one specific skill. Had RJ stayed in school, he'd likely be entering next season as one of college basketball's most marketable names, playing under his terms, earning life-changing NIL money, and still having a strong chance at being drafted in 2026. Now he's fighting from behind in a system that rarely extends second chances to players without buzz or contracts to protect them. The talent is there, but now RJ has to beat long odds with no safety net, and that's a brutal place to start your professional dream. All in all, RJ Luis Jr. didn't deserve this. Not the benching, not the fallout, and definitely not the uphill battle he's now facing just to stay visible in the league. What bothers me most is how easily it could have been avoided. Rick Pitino made a split decision that changed this kid's life forever, and coaches like him do it far too often. With everything on the line, they choose control over passion, power over perspective. I've been in RJ's shoes, benched in my final high school game, watching my future hang in the balance. I was fortunate enough to still get a Division I offer anyway. RJ wasn't so lucky. His coach took away his moment, and the system punished him for it. Now he's left fighting for a spot he already earned, and that's the kind of loss no box score can ever explain. Salute, much respect. Hopefully RJ does get an opportunity early on, but for these reasons, his growth was stunted. It's your boy JC, Stunted Growth, and I'm out.